Good day and welcome to the Micro Focus Cyber Resilience episode 2 of our 6-part series. And today we are joined by Ramses Gallego from Barcelona, one of the most beautiful cities in the world. If you haven't been there, do yourself a favor and go. It is magnificent. Ramses, you've got lots of experience in this space. You've been working at Micro Focus. You've been working all over the world. I want to ask you, how did you arrive at this position in cyber res? What brought you here over the years in a summary version?
Oh, well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's truly a pleasure, a privilege to be sharing with you about the journey, actually. And I appreciate your question because that's exactly how I crafted my career. You know, I started in sales, but there was a point in time that I wanted to understand how to better protect and defend. What make us as society, as companies of the world, as communities on the planet, I mean, that we need to protect and defend what matters most. And of course, in this digital epoch, in this super technological era that we are living, and of course, in this post-COVID, let me be positive, but post-COVID times, even more. I mean, people working from afar, etc. So I arrived into this position with the will, with the passion and commitment and energy of bringing the best out of me in the different dimensions on, again, protecting, defending, safeguarding, and leveraging the amazing technologies that we have in the house, but certainly that will do good for the, again, governments, healthcare, education, and retail, telco organizations that are around the world that we need to protect and defend. Absolutely, yes.
Why cybersecurity? Why didn't you go into accounting or into acting, or why this specific discipline? Are you like a conquistador? You enjoy going out there? What led you to security as a young man?
Well, because on the many angles and dimensions of the IT arena, you know, about understanding networks and cloud and devices and the internet of everything, of the many things that we have in this technological world, again, I think that the DNA of any company is about protecting and defending. Let me share something with our audience today. I think that the DNA of any living organism, at the DNA at the core, is about birth, growth, development, functioning, and then reproducing. So birth, growth, development, functioning. Okay, any living organism, and I guess that everybody would agree that a company, organization, a community, a country is a living organism because they want to be born, they want to grow, they want to develop, and they want to function. They don't want to malfunction, they want to function well, and they want to reproduce, right? I'm talking about the for-profit businesses and the non-for-profit businesses. They want to reproduce, make it bigger, larger, wider, stronger, right? Okay, so protecting and defending, safeguarding what matters most, it is critical, it's fundamental for those functions. So any living organism, a part of those thing dimensions, you need to survive, you need to enhance, you need to strengthen your posture with life in the universe, right? And in the digital times, protecting and defending, again, on cybersecurity, cyber resiliency, the capacity to endure. The dictionary says that being resilient is the capacity to resist no matter what. So I think that's super important. That drove me into all of those beautiful dimensions on cybersecurity, cyber resiliency, protecting, defending, accountability, and I can go for days on this answer. But back to you. But that what drove me. You know, the passion and the obsession, if I can use this word, but the obsession, the positive obsession, but the obsession of protecting and defending, enhancing the communities where we live, work, and play.
Excellent. I really like that. Ramses, when we talk about in the previous episode, we spoke about being cyber savvy and being tech savvy as executives. We need to know what's going on in security. We're now talking about resilience. In a nutshell, you've said the capacity to resist no matter what. What does that mean from a business context, please? Cyber resilience.
Well, thank you, Daniel, for the question. That's super relevant because the 4 verbs that make the cyber resiliency discipline are anticipate, withstand, recover, and evolve. Let me repeat, because I think that they are super interesting, especially when you are in the journey from cybersecurity to cyber resiliency. So security has always been, and it has to be, don't get me wrong, but it still has to be about identifying threats, defending, protecting, safeguarding, of course. And we still need to do that. However, when you become a resilient company, that means, wow, anticipating threats. I think that anticipating is better than just identifying them, because the move is, I mean, we always say at CyberRes, a micro-focus line of business, we say that the moment to help is before it happens. If you want to help me, it has to be before it happens. So anticipate, withstand, that's the second one. So withstanding, resisting, enduring. Then the third one is recovering. And I think that everybody will understand in this COVID-19 or post-COVID-19 time, recovering, the holy discipline of being back to normal, being back to an optimal state. So recovering is the third one. And last but not least, the fourth one is evolving to a next state, to a desired state, to the first version of ourselves, again, as communities, organizations, businesses of the world. So the resiliency aspect, the capacity to endure, the capacity to resist, brings up a wealth of, I would say, another business angles and technological dimensions, yes, but business angles. We always say business first, business first, business first. Okay. So anticipate, withstand, recover, and evolve. And I think that that's the universe of things within those verbs that complete and complement, to my eyes, the holy discipline of cybersecurity. Again, protecting the network, protecting people, of course, protecting processes, protecting servers and clouds and devices. But anticipate, withstand, recover, and evolve. That's what cyber resilience is about.
I love that. And where would you start if you're moving from having a security mindset? We've now got a SOC in place. We've got some technology in place. How do we move from just delivering a security, almost a reactive security service to the business, to this almost proactive cyber resilient environment we're talking about?
Another great question. And let me just start. Let me answer in two layers, if I may. But first, to start with something that everybody should know, but it's important for the second part of my answer, which is every company out there, every company on the planet has three lines that they need to protect, or they have that they're working with: identities, data, and applications. It's a very simple, not simplistic, yet very simple and powerful on the way a way of seeing how companies are. So people, data, and then applications that host that data. It is important to note, Daniel, at this time, that we believe that we call it data protection, while we in reality means information protection. I mean, different nuggets of data in aggregated fashion, they become information, right? Meaning, but okay, identities,
they become knowledge and power.
Absolutely, that's it. And then a digital profile or a personal profile. So identities, data / information, if you will, and applications. So that's my first part of the answer in order to get to the second one, which is actually the core of your question. Where do we start? Okay, but by having full control and visibility on those three aspects, by having full understanding and comprehension about who has access to what, when, and how. Let me say it again. It looks like a song, but it's not. But it's who has access to what, when, and how. And that's it. Because actually, the disciplines of assurance...
No, you got to stop now. You got to stop. You're making it so easy. How do we get full access and understanding of who's accessing our applications, who's accessing the data? Right. That is a song, and a fairy song, a children's song, or is that reality?
I mean, it's a reality, because technology is not the problem these days, Damien. Our audience, the audience need to know that technology is not the problem these days, but the willingness of asking the right questions to the right people at the right time. Meaning, everybody can know, which credentials I am accessing, these webcasts that we are recording today. Everybody has to know the rights, the entitlements, the privileges, and the credentials that I have. And as a consequence, depending on my rights, roles, entitlements, and privileges, I should have a certain level of access, depending on my authority, depending on my role, right? So that's for the identities part. When it comes to data or information, no question asked on it has to be encrypted or tokenized. I mean, if we take GDPR, or, you know, in South Africa, you have a POPI or POPIA, you know, the protection of privacy information. It's written in the law. It's written explicitly on the law that it's considered actually a mitigation strategy in a court of law in front of your honor. Even if data or information is encrypted or tokenized, it's considered a mitigation strategy. So the second angle that I mentioned, identities, data, okay? So protect and defend by encrypting, by tokenizing, by hiding secrets, because the name secrets means that you create a secret and you wanna keep it secret, right?
Yes.
So that's protecting data. And last but not least, applications. In my opinion, unfortunately for applications that in this cloud epoch, they go back and forth into the cloud. I mean, applications host that data and that information that I was mentioning. So let me challenge our audience today. How robust and solid, how hardened are the applications? Unfortunately, we're talking about applications that have been written either yesterday or they have been written, I don't know, years ago. I mean, are they weak? The code, I mean, not just the vulnerabilities on the network, Daniel, but I'm talking about, and I'll go back to you, by the way. I can talk for ages on this question, but how robust are they from a code point of view? I mean, do they have holes and vulnerabilities within the code? So identities, data, and applications would be my long answer to your fantastic question.
I love that. I love that. You know, we've got customers that are still running mainframes, and those systems churn through big numbers and they're reliable. But Absolutely. When you have a look at it from a resiliency perspective, it's not actually the mainframe. It's what's going into the mainframe and pulling information out, which is quite a scary thing. How do customers then get it right? I mean, what is the role of partners and vendors in establishing this resiliency roadmap? Or do we do it all ourselves?
No, actually, quite on the contrary. The word, and we at CyberRes, a Micro Focus line of business, the word partner, we write it in capitals, because partnering means partnering. I mean, building a bridge that we vendors and then partners, we need to cross together for the greater good. I mean, for the benefit of customers and organizations. Again, I was telling you about the different lines of work: retail, healthcare, education, telco, etc. Meaning, partners, they have the expertise. Partners, they have the drive. They have the people. Sometimes they are closer. Usually, you know, in a regular ecosystem, they are closer, you know, to the telco, to the hospital, to the government. Okay, so using the right technology plus the right people plus the right knowledge, and then of course, I'm assuming the commitment and the energy and the willingness to protect and defend that we were talking some minutes ago. That's the equation of success as I see it. You asked me some minutes ago about what took me here, right, into cybersecurity and that journey. That's exactly the equation of success on the right technology being used by the right people, and the channel and partners are fundamental on the equation of success. And then, of course, people drive knowledge, and then we will protecting. And let me bring another angle, if I may, Daniel. Protecting against people, unfortunately. I mean, cyber criminals, they are not machines. Well, yes, they use algorithms and they use machine learning to attack. But at the end of the day, the bad guys, yes, those guys that we usually represent with a hoodie, you know, in a basement, or, you know, well, but they're people as well. So people against people, using the right technology against, the technology they use in order to attack and to create harm, right? But it's a battle. I'm a pacifist, so we don't like the idea of war. But in reality, that's what we're talking about here. You know, people against people using the right technology in the attack vector, unfortunately, and in the defend vector. That's where we are, the resiliency aspect of life. Yes.
Ramses, give me 3 tips to choosing the right partner for my organization that you would look at.
Right. So the first one is that, in my opinion, how holistic is their vision? Holistic means how wide is their vision. With all due respect, I would certainly appreciate in life, not just in my technology approach, but in life, I would appreciate someone that can help me on a variety of dimensions, meaning how holistic is their vision and mission, purpose and promise. Let me say it again, because this is super cool, I guess. So having a vision and a mission is great. I appreciate it. My partners in life, the banks I am dealing with as a human being, as a father, or the school that my kids go. I mean, I appreciate their vision and mission, but I appreciate purpose and promise. And in these digital times, having not just the right technology, but the purpose and the promise. A second thing is, again, the wider of the vision. I said identities, data, and applications. So someone who can look me into the eyes as I'm looking straight into the camera now, and we can have a conversation about roles, entitlements, control, visibility, assurance, effectiveness, efficiency, credentials. I mean, all those sort of things. I mean, we're talking about an ecosystem, because ecosystems allows us to be systematic and systemic. I would appreciate a partner that can drive me into being effective and efficient, and to be systematic and systemic, right? And then my third tip, I would say, and you mentioned me being from Barcelona and born and raised in this beautiful sunny city here in the Mediterranean coast. Well, let me close my third tip with a quote from Antonio Gaudí. Antonio Gaudí, the architect of the city, with beautiful landmarks, including Sagrada Familia, or the Holy Family. Correct. So he was obsessed. Very few people know that, but he was obsessed. Anything. He was a magician, but he was obsessed with security. And he left us with an interesting quote. And going back to nature, going back to the origin, going back to the beginning. So, being a Barcelona born, I think that one of the quotes from Mr. Gaudí fits very well as my third tip, which is, if you want to be original, originality consists in returning to the origin. And 15 minutes ago, I was mentioning the DNA, right? In this beautiful conversation with you about the DNA and being born and develop and function or on growth. So if you want to be original in cybersecurity, in cyber resiliency, going back to the origin. Originality consists in going back to the origin. And the origin, protection, defense, anticipate, withstand, recover, and evolve. That's my
I love coming back to that. I think I've got my snippet for this podcast. As an aside, Ramses, how do you explain to your mother what you do for companies?
Well, I think that what I try to when I go to schools, and I do a lot of as the skies are open again, it looks like I'm traveling. I'm going back to traveling and going above the clouds. I usually say that I work in a company, Cyberes, a micro-focused line of business that has, in my opinion, the greatest technology on the planet in order to protect and defend companies or the societies that we live in. I mean, we go against cyber criminals. We try to get the bad guys, but not from a police enforcement way, but from a technological way, in order to understand their next move, to anticipate, to withstand, to recover, and to evolve. That's what I do for a living.
Have you got that as a tattoo on your arm? I really
I can show it to you.
No. It's a family podcast. I'm going to ask you two more off-piste questions.
All right, let's go. Yeah.
Where do you self-educate? Because you can't only be focused. So where do you suggest, what are your areas where we can learn more about cyber resilience and can stay ahead of the game and become an expert like you?
Well, thank you for the comment. But I mean, there are a universe of information around. You mentioned partners,
podcast, book, or
exactly. There are podcasts available on cybersecurity and cyber resiliency. There are very good white papers. Each country out there has their own, data protection authority in their own language, in Spanish in my case, but certainly in English in your case. But so the authorities of each country, the data protection authorities, they have very good, free, of course, easy to read white papers on protection, on privacy, the holy discipline of privacy, governance. So the governance of the enterprise IT. So the authorities of each country are good. The partners that you mentioned, and I'm thinking about consultancies around, and I'm not going to mention anyone, but all of them, because they produce very good deliverables. And last but not least, organizations, non-for-profit organizations, as ISACA, for instance. I've been international vice president at the board of directors worldwide of ISACA, or ISC2 Square. And there are many, the SANS Institute. So I would play in three in three layers in here, government and the data protection authorities of each country, then consultancies, partners, the channel, they produce very good deliverables out there for free. And last but not least, non-for-profit associations that actually they have task forces and teams of people, of an army of people writing and developing things. Again, remember, against the bad guys. So the bad guys are organized. Well, with the good guys. I'm on the good side. So we need to be organized as well, and then produce material for those people to read that you were mentioning. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Ramses, that's amazing. What do you think is the most common misconception about cyber resilience? What do you think people get wrong?
Well, if I may answer this with a quote, and then I will explain, or I will elaborate. Daniel, the concept of security is not insecurity, but complacency. Complacency, thinking that we are not a target. Come on, really? Thinking that, who's interested in my information? Even the people that you were mentioning, even families. Who's interested in my information? I'm not a great corporation. I'm not a company. Well, but you have a credit card. And you have information that is super relevant and valuable out there in order to be sold, So complacency is an enemy of security. And another thing is that, which actually is a second derivative of that, which is there's nothing worse than the false sense of security. Thinking that, I'm good. Hey, don't worry, Ramses, I'm okay with the tools and the things that I have deployed, I think that I'm well covered. So really?
Wow, I enjoy that. Am I allowed to credit this to you? The concept of security is not insecurity, it's complacency. Is that a Ramses Gallego quote?
Well, it's mine. It's the contrary. I said the concept. Well, the concept fits, but what I meant is not only the concept, but the contrary of security is not insecurity. It's people think, okay, that's the antonym. That's the opposite. No, the opposite of security is not just insecurity. It's thinking that I am not a target. I am not interesting for anyone, because cyber criminals, and I'm looking straight into the camera when I'm saying this, they are after you, and they are after your credit cards that you put in the stores and the things that you buy. And there are attacks like they are called man-in-the-middle attacks, and they put, as the name implies, it right in the middle because they want your information, because at the end of the day, that means money some way or the other. Your money, or they sell the information to another party and they are getting paid. So cybercrime, I have an article, Daniel, if I may say so, out there in the internet that the title is super explicit. Cybercrime is crime, period. We call it cyber because it happens to be digital, on the waves or on the cables. But cybercrime is crime. We're talking about money and getting societies at a hold, stopping and harming societies. And that's what we do for a living. And hopefully this conversation that we're having is in the right direction into enhancing and strengthening our security posture as a community, as a region of the world.
So if we are talking to if we're talking to our microfocus colleagues who are listening to this episode around ECMEA, what one thing do you want them to remember about cyber resilience and the cyber res area?
That there's a shift in perception, that the shift in perception has already started. The journey from cybersecurity to cyber resiliency, the 4 verbs that I mentioned before: anticipate, withstand, recover, and evolve. That I think that they are visually within in these COVID-19 times. Recover, withstanding. As societies of the world, we have been withstanding for what? 18 months, 20 months, So recovering and then evolving, because the show must go on. We still need to go to schools and go to hospitals and fly again, and the business. So anticipate threats, withstand attacks, recover from breaches if they happen. And if they happen, which is a tragedy, evolve. Lessons learned, learn from your mistakes and then enhance and strengthen your security posture. Protect what matters most: identities, data, and applications, Daniel.
Oh, I like how you keep coming back and keep the foundation. You just keep the foundation very clear for us and very solid, which gives us a sense of relief that there isn't chaos that's happening. We can't manage chaos in a security environment.
That's correct.
If you had to think about pre-COVID to the world that we're in now, and anticipating where we are going to with the relaxation and the world getting into its rhythm again, what do you think are the biggest changes you've seen from a security area, and what are still coming from a security perspective?
Well, I honestly think that we will never go back to that previous life in size and in volume.
Yes.
Okay. But we are living in hybrid times. And if I may use a very interesting, very visual again concept, which is the liquid life. I mean, we are living liquid life, liquid society. Some people will never go back to their regular offices for greater or for the good or bad, but they will never be back. But they still need the right access to the right applications in order to do a professional job. So we are, some people call it hybrid life. I call it the liquid time. So the liquid life that we are living, and that's important again for societies, for governments, for organizations. We need to adapt and adopt. We need to embrace change. So change, and if I may say this into this answer, Daniel, with your permission, well, change is a constant, isn't it? What a beautiful paradox. It is constant that everything changes. And if COVID-19 showed something about the many tragedies that COVID-19 showed, unfortunately, one is that change is a constant. It is constant that everything will change. So the liquid life, the liquid times that we are living, some people working, 3 days from home, 2 in the office, or 1, or never in the office, but always connected, through our, devices, etc. So I think that's important. And that idea of liquidness or liquidity, I think that's important, especially given the technology tools and weapons that we have at our reach. Yeah.
You bring me into thinking of one of the greatest teachers I know, which was Bruce Lee, which is saying, be like water, which moves
that's correct.
The obstacles, doesn't he?
Absolutely. Adapt and adopt. Adapt and adopt the best practices, but be flexible because I mean that what this life requires, I think, Daniel. Yeah.
Ramses, when you write your book, what would it be about from a cyber resilience perspective? What would the chapter be about on cyber resilience?
I think that I would title it, I don't know, let me improvise, but the future of now, the future present, a future that is so present, a future that is about right now, a future that is about change and change and change. And as I think of change, I always think about the 3 V's of change. The 3 V's of change: the velocity, the variety, and the volume of change. The future of now, the future that is happening as you and I are speaking today, and our beautiful audience is listening to this conversation, right? Something is happening around the world. I mean, a new developments in the internet of everything, new approaches, new technologies, new clouds, so future of now and change as a constant. I think that would be beautiful, catchy titles of the book, or at least a chapter.
I would read that chapter. I would definitely. I don't really read workbooks, so but I would definitely read that chapter. So you've been in CyberRes and with Micro Focus for a while now, so you probably know a little bit about what's coming up. What is the most exciting technical development or release that's coming out of Micro Focus in the next 6 months? Maybe you can give us an early view of something we don't know about.
Well, let me answer in 2 layers. One, and we are doing it now, but it's going to be even more massive, is the use of unsupervised machine learning. So machine learning is a sub-discipline of artificial intelligence. When people say that we use artificial intelligence, well, what we really mean is a subset of artificial intelligence is called machine learning. And of the 4 types of machine learning, one, it's called unsupervised machine learning. Well, let me tell you something. Let me tell you and the audience, of course, it's unsupervised machine learning learns by observation, meaning supervised machine learning learns by example. You need to train supervised machine learning. Someone has to be on top of the algorithm to train the algorithm, etc. However, unsupervised machine learning learns by observing what's happening. And when you have an algorithm that works 24/7, they don't need to rest, they don't need to sleep, they don't require a salary increase, they don't get upset with no one. learning by observing patterns of behavior. I mean, they are great in order to detect anomalies, to detect fraud, to detect, abnormal things happening. So the intensive and extensive use of unsupervised machine learning, I think that's super cool. The second one, and we at CyberRes, a micro-focus line of business, want to be launching things very cool on not just threat hunting. I like the idea of hunting for threats, but threat intelligence, a gathering, a galaxy or a constellation of services, a platform around not just, remember, identifying threats, but anticipating threats. So why? Because we collect, a lot of intelligence on threats and happening around the planet. Yeah. And the most important thing that you can tailor them precise per industry, per region of the world. So things that really matter and have an impact to the societies and companies that we work and live and play, right? So those two get me really, really, really excited on unsupervised machine learning, and then threat hunting, threat detection, threat intelligence. Those two are super, super interesting.
Amazing. I want to know if there's a POC that's running and want to see that, because this unsupervised machine learning, I am a total fan of robotics, and I can't wait for it to make a bigger impact in industry, and you seem to be on that way. Now you have a real job, and we are coming to the end of this year. What is your focus for the next calendar quarter? So leading up to Navidad, to Christmas and the rest.
Well, of course, we have a job to do, as I've been saying, for those minutes, on protecting, defending, and enhancing the security posture of our companies, right? And the customers we serve, right? But it's important to gain even more visibility for the line of business, which is the soul that we gave it. I mean, the name of the department is CyberRes, from cyber resiliency, of course, a micro-focus line of business. I mean, micro-focus is a huge company. It's the seventh largest pure software player on the planet, but within that universe of fantastic solutions, we decided that cyber resiliency deserved its own soul, its own DNA, its own, again, profit and loss. So this is why we are positively obsessed of even gaining more visibility, even enhancing, how people understand that the journey that I have been talking, for those past minutes. Cybersecurity is great. Keep doing that. I mean, networks, cloud, devices, endpoint protection.
You're avoiding me. What are you doing? What is Ramses doing for that?
All right.
We know Micro Focus.
Okay. Sorry for that then. Okay. I apologize. Okay. Me. Well, if I may say,
we're interested in you.
Okay. So I'm going to be running my second marathon in 1 week. So probably when most people hear this, I have already run them. The London Marathon I ran yesterday, the Madrid Marathon, I have the medal with me. So if you want it, I can show it to camera. But in 7 days from now, actually this Sunday, I'm going to be running the London Marathon. So to your question, I'm a father, so family first, work first, hobbies, in my case, sport and long distance running and trail running and extreme, let's say distances. That's my thing. So I always say family first, work first, and then hobbies first. So it's everything's first. Well, that's me, that's the energy I have, family first, but work is first. And then my hobbies, which is running and long distance, extreme adventures.
We need to bottle that energy that you have, Ramses. We need to sell that at the store, buddy.
Anytime.
And next time you're in South Africa, please join me. I am very much into ultra running as well.
My pleasure. Okay.
If you can come in November to Cape Town, you can look up Ultra Trail Cape Town, which is 100 days in the mountain.
Okay.
Beautiful.
All right.
It's beautiful. And I would love to host you for that. We'll ask Alison from Micro Focus to pay for your entry. Okay.
Oh, that would be great. That would be great. Anytime. Well, I'm writing it down right now, Absolutely.
Yeah, I think we should.
It's already on my calendar. It's on my calendar.
Exactly. 27th November, we can have a beer. Then my last question for you. We are going to have audience members who are not CyberRes customers. They're not Micro Focus customers. They are just listening in here and want to know about cyber resilience. What advice do you have for them to practically stay ahead of the game and to take security from security to cyber resilience, understanding, anticipate, withstand, recover, and evolve as the foundation?
Well, absolutely. First, understand the data lifecycle management of the company. Your data goes back and forth. The data is alive. Information about your supply chain, your providers, your customers, your employees. Data is alive. Data is in motion as it moves back and forth the cloud. Data is at rest in your data center, in your devices. Data is in use when it's being actually typed. So data is alive. And I'm inviting our audience today to understand the structured data. The data that you know, but it's also the unstructured data. It's the data, unfortunately, that you don't know. And it exists. It exists in the formats of PowerPoints, of Word documents, of text having been sent through another, cloud service, Dropbox, Box, Slack, Workday, iCloud, Twitter. So understand how data moves back and forth. Ask the right questions to the right people at the right time. Read the law or understand the law. In your case in South Africa, Protection of Privacy Information Act, that is super explicit on understanding the life of data. And of course, as you were mentioning before, use the channel, use partners. They excel on providing services with the right people at the right time. And of course, if I may say, use the right technology. And for that, I'm raising my hand as CyberS, Micro Focus line of business. But that's my advice. Understand. Otherwise, that's and I apologize for the strong word, but that's negligency. Meaning, if you start saying, no, I don't care. No, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to know about that. Come on, because cyber criminals are next door. Cyber criminals are at 3 clicks of distance. And while someone would say, no, I'm not interested. No, who's interested on my data? They are. And they are at 3 clicks of distance. Protect identities, protect data, and protect applications. That would be my advice.
I've taken it as cyber criminals are 3 clicks away. If you don't mind, I just changed.
Absolutely. All yours. All yours. Absolutely. Anytime.
Ramses Gallego, you have been an absolute joy. You have been a ray of sunshine on this Monday afternoon. I wish you all the best for London. And
thank you very much
for giving us some time from the Micro Focus podcast. I think you have just increased the momentum. Cyber resilience is somewhere we have to go to. We have to work our customers to. And if we've got access to people like yourself, we can certainly advise our customers and our companies in the right way. Ramses, you are on LinkedIn. I've seen that. For all of our audience members, hook up with Ramses. He shares some amazing insights and amazing viewpoints, and is really well tucked into this industry and into Micro Focus. Please reach out and increase his awareness of you and where you are, and he can direct you in the right place in Micro Focus Cyber Resilience for who to chat to. From my side, Daniel Robus, I am going to end this podcast by saying, wow, that was like sipping from a fire hydrant. I loved it. Thank you, Ramses. Have a lovely afternoon.
Same for you. Thank you for having me. It was a privilege. Anytime, you know where to find me. And thanks everyone for listening. It has been a pleasure. Thank you very much.